We're entering Unit 12 of this semester, the last unit. And so we thought it might be fun to take a stroll down memory lane to look at the creative journey that we've been on together.
And as you know, the first task of that creative journey is what's the intention? And of course, the intention was phrased in the title of the course, Customer-Focused Innovation, which meant how do you innovate with and for your customers and your clients? With a background of empathy, the sense of design thinking. And that was the primary focus, was to build the competencies, the self-awareness, the knowledge and skills to be able to actually take that kind of journey with respect to an actual project, with the social enterprise that you were going to work with. There was also a secondary intention, which was to expose you to not only the awareness, but also some of the knowledge and skills for how would you as leaders enable innovation across your entire organization. And so we'll give you a bit of a summary of how we've done that throughout the sense of the course.
We use the innovation process model as our framework for the entire course. One of the reasons that we did that, and there is a reason, is that the innovation process is actually the core of our curriculum. Everything hangs off of the process because the process is where you get the innovative work done. And so we use that as the overall framework to guide the competencies that we would help you to build along the way, as well as the process that you would use for your client project.
Now, to support that innovation process and your competency and your skill and awareness for using it, we looked at the basics. We looked at what are some of the myths of innovation, and how do we gain a common language and common understanding of that so that we can begin to see that innovation is not just products, it's not just breakthroughs, that everyone could be innovative, that it can be inspired from the inside out, that there's different ways of innovative thinking, that there's a lot of different aspects that people don't normally think about when they're approached with this idea of let's be innovative.
You might think back to the very first residency weekend that we had with you. You might recall that it was so important for us to our first step with you was to help you realize that you are innovative, that you can build the competencies to be innovative as well. Give you that confidence to start out with. And that's what the basics is all about. Demystify innovation. Help you to feel confident in your ability to be innovative and help you to feel confident that others can also be innovative as well.
Really to increase that recognition of other people, especially as you take that back to your regular workplace, not just in the DBA cohort. Now, another way that we supported the innovation process was by introducing human values, the qualities of good character that are found across cultures, across time, and how they can energize us and inspire us and guide us in what we innovate, how we innovate, why we innovate, and to be able to build those into how you actually define the very intention and goal of your creative journeys, and how you bring alive the sense of confidence, how you bring alive the sense of what's meaningful in making decisions, and so on, how the human values really informs every task of the creative journey.
You might recall us saying that design thinking is based on empathy, which we are so thankful. We were so thankful to see that concept come out and to really come alive in the world. And yet for us, it's not just empathy with your customer. It's empathy with ourselves, empathy with your team, empathy with your customer, and empathy with everyone, all the stakeholders who are touched by whatever it is that you're innovating.
No, but another part of empathy was to empathize with those who don't really think innovatively the way you do.
Now we got into that with the innovative thinking, competency building.
Exactly.
So do you see why we started with human values? We had to get the human values flowing before we got into the innovation styles and discovered the differences that we have in innovative thinking, and certainly the conflicts that we might have, or where we might come together and think that our one or two styles are the most important and we don't need those other styles.
So there's a lot of building of that more inclusion, if you will, more recognition of the innovation styles as different languages, and one or two might be our mother tongue, but we can learn to speak all four. In fact, if we really want to travel in the creative journey, we have to be able to speak all four languages to really bring out the best of ourselves, the best of others, and to create the best solutions.
You may recall in the second residency weekend, we really practiced. We used the whole time to practice idea generation, and we used the 4 innovation styles and the 3 human values orientations questions to stimulate that idea generation. Now, while we use the styles and the human values to practice idea generation, we also emphasized that you want to use them all throughout every task in the process. We were just using the idea generation as a good way to practice, get a handle on how the 4 styles think differently, how the 3 human values orientations think differently. But you want to use all 7 of those competencies throughout every task in the process.
Really, the same was true with some of the concepts from the basics, like art and discipline, that every task in the innovation process has an aspect of the art, bringing the human side there, and the discipline, using the tools and techniques that we can all learn and apply. And so even the basics were concepts that you could apply all the way through the creative journey. Now, one thing that we did very early in the course was to ask you to fill out a profile of the team climate for innovation, really on behalf of the whole cohort. And that might have actually created a little confusion. Like
it might have created confusion. We did create confusion with that rating.
Are we a team? You know? And as you know, we're going to complete the course with a second rating of that to see what may have shifted. But in between, we also looked at what of these 8 qualities of the team climate, which ones do you individually bring alive in any team that or group that you belong to, whether as a leader, as a follower, or someone who interacts, and so that you all have those strengths to bring alive that quality of team synergy, the qualities of an environment in which we all can bring out our best and really collaborate for finding innovative solutions.
In our third residency weekend, we started with the team climate, the 8 qualities, and your individual assessment results. And then we had the presentations of your client projects. And also you talked about what you had learned personally, what you had learned in working with your team. And William and I were smiling the whole time because we saw those team climate qualities so alive in your presentations and as you shared your insights. So in many ways, building the team climate qualities has been a bit more implicit, whereas building the basics, the common language, of course, the innovation process, the 8 tasks, the styles, the human values, that's been more explicit.
And really, those 5, basics, process, styles, human values, and team climate, those have been the 5 core modules that have given you a deep dive experience into what it takes for an individual or a group or a team to actually produce an innovative solution and to really build your competencies well for that so that you can take that back with you to your regular day job, if you will, as well as working with the rest of your DBA program. But now coming to that secondary intention of the course, which was to really look at what it takes to enable innovation across the organization. These 5, what you've experienced with your projects, certainly is a core aspect of how do you enable innovation in every person, every job, every day, every group, every team. But now there were 3 other aspects of that were more executive level topics, if you will, that we were able to introduce you to, not at a competency skill building, but at least an awareness. And these were the scenario-based strategic planning and business models, the culture for innovation, and the return on innovation investment. Because it's at those levels that executives and senior leaders take the responsibility for setting up the environment and the direction and the focus for the organization to truly achieve organization-wide innovativeness.
Let us close by just looking at some of our favorite concepts. You might remember that we did one of our first videos on what is innovation. Mm-hmm. And my favorite definition, which is really an experiential definition for me, is that innovation is a proactive, conscious act of creating your future.
I love that being different from just the commercial idea of what is innovation.
I hope that that definition is alive and well for you today, because each one of you have been engaged in a proactive, conscious act of helping your client create their future. Mm-hmm. Another concept which is so dear to our heart, and you've heard us talk about a lot, is that innovation is an art and a discipline. The art is the human side, which, of course, we've done a lot of work in building awareness and competencies of the human side of innovation, the values, the qualities, the behaviors, the thinking, what it takes to bring us together and come together to innovate together. The discipline, of course, is the tools and the processes and the practices, the way that the things you need to do, go through the 8 tasks mm-hmm. to actually produce an innovative result.
You know, a lot of people have thought of brainstorming as a discipline because it takes so much discipline not to judge those ideas. You know? And yet the art side is what we call heartstorming, mm-hmm. you know, mm-hmm. because you're really wanting to generate solutions from the heart, from those that are really meaningful and valuable. Another piece of a favorite message of ours and concept mm-hmm. is that being innovative is a mindset. Mm-hmm. And thinking and working innovatively is like the process. And innovation as a noun is like a natural result. Mm-hmm. And that to really enable innovation across an organization, you can't just focus on innovation as the major thing.
What's our next, latest, and greatest product?
You need to start with focusing on, well, how is the mindset where everyone senses that we are innovative? Mm-hmm. And the process in which we can think and act and work innovatively together. And let that naturally produce the innovations that are going to come when it's well managed.
Another concept, which you're very familiar with now, is that innovation has a breathing rhythm. Mm-hmm. We need to take a good inhale and we need to take a good exhale.
And with that, you want a climate and a culture that inhales and exhales.
Right.
Now, we distinguish climate and culture. Climate is what you, as a leader, can affect wherever you go in the domain of your influence, the teams, the groups, the people you're with. How do you build a sense of a climate for everyone being at their innovative best? A culture is where those norms and values and behaviors are institutionalized into the policies and practices and systems of the organization. It takes a lot more to change a culture than a climate, but you do have the power to change climates perhaps much more, and this is talking in general, much more than people realize.
We've also talked about the trends that are happening right now in the field of innovation, in the field of corporate innovation. We are moving from managing innovation like the R&D department. Again, I like to refer to it as the mainframes. We're moving from mainframe to PC when it comes to innovation. We're moving away from managing innovation, the pipeline. Only specialists can innovate. R&D department innovates, everybody else implements. We're moving away from that mainframe concept into the concept of enabling innovation with every person every day, putting the power and the responsibility for innovation into the hands of everyone across the organization.
And of course, that is a big responsibility. And it also means that as we read about how innovation is a top 3 strategic priority around the world, it is the growth engine, it is the make or break, it's innovate or die for some people. But the call today is not just for more innovation, not more widgets that do more fancy things. The calling today is to have innovation that truly serves and makes a difference. We call it innovation with a conscience. Innovation that is informed and guided by what is most meaningful to us as human beings And from the human value standpoint, how do we want to truly make a difference on this planet? How do we want to have that sense of connection? How do we want to have a sense of integrity? And how our innovative efforts really bring that alive? Because that is where we all live.
You may recall in Task 8, when we talk about celebration, we think that the most important aspect of celebration is appreciation. Mm-hmm. And so I just find myself right now, as we're taping this video, feeling an immense sense of appreciation for Dale. Mm-hmm. Dale has truly stood for this course for years and to make sure that it was going to happen in the DBA program.
He's inspired, not just invited us, but he inspired us to what we could bring together in something that we have learned so much as we've come along.
Mm-hmm. Also feeling immense appreciation for each one of you. Mm-hmm. We feel that we have made 15 new friends, new colleagues, people that we can collaborate with anytime in the future to innovate together. And truly, I know I've told this to some of you, I'm not easy to please. William can attest to that. I'm not easy to please. And yet I have been so pleased and felt such a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction as I have watched as I have read and followed each one of your updates. I truly do feel such a sense of appreciation for you, all of the hard work that you have done. And there is absolutely no doubt in our minds that your project, the work that you've done for your client, is going to make a positive difference in this world.
I can only add ditto to everything that you said, and that we admire you. Mm-hmm. We admire you for what you've embarked upon, even in taking on the DBA program in the midst of your busy work lives, your family lives, and so on. You've stayed with it. You've given your all in this course, and we've really seen that. And we really do. It's not just appreciation, but admiration, I think, is what the feeling inside of me right now.
I'm going to close by reminding you that creativity is the space between the thoughts.
Oh, I love that.
So be sure and continue to breathe deeply and keep creating space between your thoughts, even in the busyness of your workday and the busyness of your last semester of DBA work and your dissertation work. Keep breathing deeply. Keep creating the space between the thoughts.
We wish you well.